It's happy hour at Arvada Estates. The Senior Living Center has music, food, and today a special occasion.
Dear Nikolai, happy birthday to
Nikolai Zenyuk, one of the residents here, is 100 years old. Even Arvada City Council member Mark McGough came for the celebration. They call Zenyuk the General because of his role in World War II. While the Americans fought Nazi Germany, Nikolai Zenyuk did the same in the Polish army. They shared a common enemy, Adolf Hitler.
He, son of a gun, killed lots of people.
Two of Zenyuk's cousins died in concentration camps in Poland.
When I be over there, that killed me too. But I was military, I go away from him. I try to kill him.
As a highly trained and decorated officer, Zenyuk commanded 3,000 men and met some leaders he truly admired. U.S. General George Patton.
He's very good general, General Patton.
And General Dwight D. Eisenhower.
He was president. I vote for him.
His medals tell even more of his military story.
That prison medal, that fight medal, that hero medal.
A medal for being a hero, a medal for fighting, and a medal for being a prisoner of war. He spent more than a year in a prison run by the Gestapo. And tell me about prison.
Don't ask that question. You're hungry, everything. That's very, very bad. Food, very bad, everything. Gestapo German, that's very bad German. They push us to work for nothing.
German bombs and shelling damaged much of his native Poland. And fighting in frozen forests damaged him physically.
I lost my hearing, and I got my bronchitis, cough, catch over there, that from war. Cold, winter time, snow, cold, everything outside.
But he survived, and after the war came to America, where he was recruited by the FBI.
Tried to hire me to FBI when I come. 2 times come FBI tried to hire me. And my wife started crying, 2 boys little. He said, you go, what I can do over here is with 2 boys. Then I turned down.
Having a wife and 2 young sons, he chose instead to work at the Gates Rubber Company in Denver before eventually settling in Arvada.
I'm over 65-year citizen.
These days, he enjoys chatting with friends and an occasional glass of Russian champagne.
Sukhoye, это dry.
After all, he's celebrating 10 decades worth of history. Part of it, fighting for the freedoms we enjoy today. On New Year's Day, 1945, Jack loses one of his men.
Charlie Payer is shaving for whatever reason he's shaving, and I'm standing beside him. The next thing you know, bingo! Here comes the big old 88, one of the Germans' finest artillery pieces, and goes off. Poor old Charlie there, and I'm standing beside him. Didn't bother me at all. By the time you heard the thing, it was in your lap.
There would be time to grieve later. While crossing the Rhine River, Jack witnesses a scene still talked about today.
One of the things that I vividly remember in crossing the Rhine, there was a fellow standing there who was waving us across the Rhine. And I saw the old guy peeing in the Rhine, showing disdain for the Germans. His name was George Patton.
The war winds down with its secret horror not yet exposed.
The next thing you know, we encountered this concentration camp.
Mauthausen in Austria, an extermination camp hidden behind stone walls high in the mountains.
The 11th Armored Division actually liberated the Mauthausen concentration camp. And that's another thing that Dad said is my dad had no tolerance for what they call Holocaust deniers, people who say that never happened. He says those people that have no idea what they're talking about. He says, I was there, I saw it firsthand, and he said it was horrific.
Jack sees the ovens, the piles of bodies, so many that a bulldozer helps dig mass graves. But there are stories of survival.
We rescued this Jewish fella off this bone pile. He was already tossed on the bone pile, supposedly dead. We rescued him.
Among others rescued, Simon Wiesenthal, who later dedicated his life to tracking down fugitive Nazi war criminals. And Tibor Rubin from Hungary, who later became a United States Marine, earning the Congressional Medal of Honor in the Korean War. So many stories, and Jack writes home often during the war, many times asking for food.
I hope to get one of your packages pretty soon because I get awful damn hungry. It says, please send me another package with eats and some hair oil. Gotta look good.
You're talking about a kid that was inducted into the military at 119 pounds.
And when he gets out, he weighs exactly the same. There are lighter moments, too, showcasing Jack's rowdy sense of humor.
They were going through a town in France, and there was a gal up in a second-story window whistles down, "Hey, soldier, come on up, I'll give you something you've never had before." And he yells back, "What, VD?"
But it's life after the war that Jack truly enjoys, including 67 years with doting wife Neva. They have 11 children, 3 girls, 8 boys. One of them joins the Air Force for 27 years. And don't forget the 20 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. Jack spends as much time as possible at Arvada's community garden. Always the overachiever, he grows cabbages the size of basketballs.
I'd say probably one of the things I'm mostly proud about my father is the fact that he was able to persevere through the horrors of war, what he saw during the war, things that they did during the war, and come out of it in the end to be a contributing member of society, to raise this phenomenal family that we have. I'd say that's probably one of the best things a person could do, is to carry on and do the kind of work that he did over the years.
Jack Appelhans died in April of 2014 at the age of 89. His uniform and medals preserve his history, and his voice lives on thanks to an interview recorded by a family friend 4 years before he died.
I think everybody that served in a combat situation needs to have their story preserved, because these were not the generals, these were not the people in charge, these are the rank and file soldiers that were doing the dirty work, so to speak.
Dirt and all, Jack's life tells the story of a man with a strong work ethic who always did his best and celebrated all that life has to offer. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor more than 70 years ago, Coloradan James Doyle was there.
That's the most odd-awful smell that you ever smelled in your life.
Now 91 years old, he still remembers that smell of death, the surprise of the attack, and the horror of what he saw, the flames, the fear, and the wounded struggling to survive.
They pulled these poor wounded out of the water, and the water had oil. And
Doyle survived Pearl Harbor but went on to face even more danger. He was a pilot.
that was a beautiful plane.
He shows us a model of the plane he flew with a camera mounted underneath to take pictures of the enemy.
I was taught to fly when I was 14 years old.
He went from crop dusting on a farm in Meeker in western Colorado to risking his life in the skies. Aerial photos were vital to the war effort, and pilots like Doyle were some of the most daring, flying unarmed, unprotected, and often alone. In the Battle of the Coral Sea, he dodged bombers in a smoke-filled sky. On one mission, Doyle needed to land, but his aircraft carrier was on fire.
And no way was I going to land in the water. I put that baby down on this burning carrier,
He jumped from the flight deck, a 35-foot drop into the ocean.
I jumped feet first. I thought I was never going to come up. Never.
His next mission, to take pictures of a Japanese base near Guadalcanal, but that too would end badly.
I was at 8,000 feet, starting to photograph the forest, when I was jumped by 3 Zeros. I woke up in the hospital in Brisbane, Australia, and my head was crushed.
A display of medals is testament to Doyle's sacrifice. He's one of the few Pearl Harbor survivors still alive, and he earned 2 Purple Hearts for being wounded twice in battle. Some of the pictures he took are seen in history books today, and he says he's proud of his service. It's not easy for Doyle to get around these days, but he's still active. He joined the newly formed chapter of Purple Heart recipients based in Arvada. He wants the younger generation to know how important it is to sacrifice for your country.
I'm honored that I was ever chosen by the Navy. We went through hell, but it was something we had to do.